Without a shadow of a doubt, it's the Crockett Show in social media history. I want to welcome you to another episode of the WarZone. I got my good friend in the building, the great Dr. Abdul Haleem Muhammad from the Nation of Islam, and I am the 5-star general. We tried to warn you, Houston. 5-6 years ago, we tried to warn you about this violence. And guess what? The chickens done come home to roost. So we're going to talk about it tonight. Get on the phone and call your friends, because this is going to be a good one. Say, man, I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the WarZone and tell you thank you for taking the time out to tune in. You know, without you good people, I wouldn't have a show. So it's always great that you take time out to come and hang out with me and listen to some days my crazy views, but some days some very intelligent views. Right now, I want to take the time out to thank my guest. He's been under the weather, but he seems to always find the time to come and hang out with me when we need him the most. He is the go-to man in the city of Houston, and I want to welcome to the show my good friend, Dr. Abdul Haleem Muhammad. What's up, doctor?
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Gary, and to you and to the WarZone audience.
Say, man, it's a lot going on in the world. It's a lot going on in the state of Texas, and we know some days the state of Texas is to us bigger than the world. We know that Harris County is bigger than 32 states in the United States of America alone. And one of the most pressing issues in Harris County is the increase in crime, the increase realistically in police shootings. I know I think the last week we've had at least 4. We've lost 3 officers behind crime, but crime in general in the city of Houston and Harris County is going haywire. And I brought you on tonight because we talk all the time. And a lot of people were hitting me. They wanted to hear from you. Your opinion on where we are with crime, what do we do about it, and where do we go from here?
Well, first and foremost, Brother Gary, let me thank you for the invitation to come on the program and, of course, to communicate with the people, dialogue with the people over the people's sacred airwaves. Regardless of whether this is over StreamYard or Facebook or whatever platform, these private companies must understand that it is the people tax dollars that paid for the infrastructure. It is the people's tax dollars that sent men into space and to experiment on microprocessing and all of the things that
the scholarship
we enjoy.
Really helped because I was able to pay for books
and
it kind of helped me find my passion. I've seen what
private entities. I hear something, but Jared. And so private entities have now been able to take advantage of what the people sacrificed for. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity, beloved. And one thing I'll say, one of the greatest gifts that any leader, or I would like to say servant leader, can give to others is hope. And one of the worst things that any servant leader can do is to create fear amongst the people. You know, Brother Gary, all my superheroes and all my heroes are Black, but my favorite movie is Patton. And one thing that George S. Patton Jr. said was, do not take counsel of your fears. So what we have, 2 things that's getting ready to take place, Brother Gary, as we have seen it from both ends and in the middle. Liberal lies, conservative cons, and moderate myths. One of the things that's getting ready to happen is that they're going to set up an atmosphere to play on the fears of the people. And rightfully so, we all feel a certain level of insecurity and safety, because if people are out shooting law enforcement, these are men and women who are trained, who have weapons, but yet they are fired upon. People getting jacked, carjackings are going up. all of that taking place, then the people are going to be afraid. So they're going to take advantage of the fear of the people. But a lot of people don't want to talk about what is at the root of this crime and what is at the root of some of these people who are roaming our streets that are dangerous. And we have to have the spirit of discernment. We got to be able to sort things out. Everything that a liberal says is not a lie. Everything that a conservative say is not a con. Everything that a moderate mouths is not a myth. But we got to sort through and pull the diamonds out of the dung of what's being going to put out there. So that being said, my beloved brother, yes, our prayers and our thoughts go out with the families of these law enforcement officers and every man and woman who is willing to put on that uniform and that badge and go out and protect and serve. We can't be insensitive to that. It takes a special kind of human being to do that kind of work. Also, the firefighters, the same thing, to rush into a burning house, that's a special kind of human being. But that being said, law enforcement cannot do this alone. Now, we saw the press conferences of our chief, whom you and I know very personally and intimately. We hear the mayor, we hear the city council people, we hear all of these folks say we all have to pull together. Yes, I agree. But the question is, if you want to fight a war, you got to have an army. I'm on with the 5-star general. But you can't be a general if you're not commanding 100,000 to 300,000 troops. That's what makes up an army. And the army is made up of corps, and the corps are made up of divisions, and divisions are made up of brigades, and brigades are made up of battalions, and battalions are made up of companies, and companies are made up of squads, and squads are made up of platoons, and platoons are made up of squads, and the squads are made up of fire teams. We can't be, you say you want to fight this war against crime, but you don't want to assemble the army. And here, part of the army is sitting here wringing its hands on social media, having given you at least a part of a template of what an army could do in terms of the community, of rebuilding family, community life, and doing the things that we need to do to prevent crime, to intervene in the crime, and to do the long-term thing.
Now let me ask you a question. Me and you were talking last week, and I hadn't even thought about it. This template that we keep talking about, this 21-page comprehensive plan that me, you, Reggie, and the whole team had a hand in writing. That because we've been doing the work. We know what it takes to slow down the crime or either eliminate it. And you made me aware last week, because I've been so busy. You say, well, where's the gang violence on the Scott Street corridor? So what he's meaning by that, y'all, is we set out 5 years ago to get rid of the gang violence on the Scott Street corridor, which is from Scott and 45 all the way back to Sims Bayou. And on this day, we are both proud to say we can't find the gang violence. So the thing is I'm like you, they want help, but maybe it's about who the help is coming from. Because if we had a hand, and I'm gonna say a hand in it, with slowing down this gang violence on one of the most dangerous corridors in the country, imagine what we could do if they just embraced us and let us do what we great at doing. What's your opinion?
Well, brother, I always look at it from this standpoint. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that self-improvement is the basis for community development, which means we have to have the ability, again, I use the word discernment, for self-examination, self-analysis, self-correction, and then resurrecting within oneself the self-accusing spirit, where no one has to come from the outside and tell us what's right and wrong, brother. We know when we sit down with one another and when we've gone too far. You know, when you and I have our private conversation, I say, Gary, come on now, pull that back. You were right on this, but you were a little too passionate, and the way you expressed it was not worthy of your intelligence and the goal you're trying to accomplish. You know how we have those talks. And you get to the point in certain points where I don't even have to talk to you. I find you, I'll watch your social media, I start laughing because, well, you know, the good doctor said, I ain't talked to you in a week, but you corrected yourself. That's a beautiful thing. But here's the point, beloved. What could we have done even more as we helped to quell the gang violence up and down the Scott Street corridor? And what has happened is it has metastasized. It is left out of the Scott Street corridor. And as you have rightfully predicted, it went to the Galleria. It went to all these places, and you told them, you're not going to be safe. When that thing happened over at Lamar High School, that was one implication of how this thing was going to spread out. And so now it's gotten to the point where it's not even about the gang violence. They've turned to a whole nother level of survival. And so the truth of the matter is that this is all solvable. But as you have indicated, it appears that the people who are offering the solution are not in favor with those who have the resources. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that when it came to hurricane aid, when it came to the freeze, where the people didn't have water, when the people during COVID needed cleaning supplies and food and all of that, I would be remiss if I didn't say that the mayor and the Houston Food Bank and Bethel Baptist Church and others, Councilwoman Evan Shabazz, and of course, United in Peace and the local organizing committee and One Houston, One Hood, if we didn't get resources from them to serve the people, but always we have been, from the very first time that Mayor Turner took office, been at his door, laying out to him what needed to be done. From that first brutal murder that took place on Belford at Cullen at that convenience store. Mm-hmm. I sat in his office, myself, Reginald Gordon, some pastors and others, and I laid out to him prevention, intervention, long-term solution. And his word to me was, yes, minister, that's true, but I have to do something now. So, of course, I'm going to do, the man is politically sagacious. He's probably one of the wisest politicians you ever want to find. I nicknamed him Houdini because every time he gets into something, he gets out of it. But this is something that if we don't address it now, it's going to set something up in this city that we're going to regret later. We're going to get a kind of, let me give you a kind of an empty suit, kind of Donald Trump time, I'm going to be tough on crime, kind of mayor. And when you put all those resources in just law enforcement alone, and you don't rebuild family and community life, when you don't marshal the cultural arts community, when you don't marshal the spiritual community for spiritual rejuvenation of this city. And I'm not talking about some phony getting up there and preaching some preachers that if they were caught on the street, the boys would rob them, they down on themselves. I'm talking about some real deal people that the OGs respect. To say to them, we got to set a whole new paradigm. The Holy Quran says that corruptions appeared on the land and the sea on account of what men's have wrought, so that you may taste a part of it and then you may return. Aren't we tired? Aren't we sick and tired of this? Then you can't hide behind your and my door. We can't hide behind our pulpits. We can't hide behind our desks. We can't hide behind those men and women in blue that are out there. We have to take control of our community and make our own communities safe and decent places to live. And so we have done our part with little or no resources, brother. We have made brick without straw.
Exactly.
To show that it's possible. And if you would give us something that would sustain us, then that's fine. But if you don't, we're still going to do the work. We're not going to stop. But Gary, you have not stopped going to the schools. You have not stopped. You have, in fact, your work has, it's like the scripture said, a prophet is without honor in his own home, in his own country. And so you're welcome in other states. They fly you into other states to help solve their problems where you could be solving the problem in the place that you love. The man bleeds crimson and gold, crimson and yellow. He's a Yates man. If you cut him, he won't bleed just red. Nope. He bleeds crimson and gold. He's a third ward Yates man. He loves Houston. You can't talk about Houston and not talk about Yates. So if you got a man that loves this city, and sometimes he goes straight off on everybody, but it's not because he hates. It's because it's difficult when you're in love with something and you're watching people mess over what you love, and you want to give your life to it.
When you say that, and I just want people to understand me. Have you ever sat and watched a loved one just die slowly? You knew that they were sick, and you just sitting at the house or in the hospital, and you just watching them die slowly, but you have the ability to help them, but they won't allow you to. So you're just watching them die. And this is what I'm seeing with the city that I fell in love with as a newborn kid. I was born at Jefferson Davis Hospital. I grew up in Third Ward. We lived in a few different spots, but I always made it back to Third Ward. And to see my city going through something that we can actually fix as a collective unit. That's government, that's school, that's ministry. We can fix this. But I'm sitting and watching the thing I love die every day. And I've reached a point in my life where my job is just to help people and to help kids. So if you don't want me to mentor your children in the Houston Independent School District, then I can go to Hinesville, Georgia and do it. I can go to Minneapolis and help children, Lafayette, Louisiana. But I'm not going to sit here and watch us die when I know I could be out helping people. So yeah, some days I might put on the superhero costume. Some days I might say it the wrong way, but you better know one thing. I give my heart to this city, but if they don't want it, it's nothing I can do.
Well, once again, brother, I always try to counsel you and to those who are watching. Minister teaches us that if you really want to know what a person is or who they are, disappoint them. You see, if things go along fine, then you see us kind of be like calm waters. But once you disturb the waters, this Leviathan or this sea monster will come out of us. And sometimes it's not really the incident or the event that caused it. It was there all along. But what the incident did was draw it out. And sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with that incident, but it's a series of things. It's almost like a rope with knots in it. And you pulled on that rope one time, and all of that stuff, all the crap that's been going on. I was thinking as I was watching the news today and praying for those officers and the community, I was thinking about a song that came up in my head. It's not a gospel song, it was a song by Aretha Franklin called "This Is the House That Jack Built." The house that Jack built, yeah. It's jacked up school system, jacked up healthcare system, jacked up food deserts, jacked up families, jacked up lack of community life, jacked up. Everything is just jacked up. This is the house that Jack built. And what we got to do is fix this thing, man. And it can be done. But the question is, do we have not the means? We got the means. We have the resources. But do we have the will? Excuse me. So these leaders, are having this heavy pressure being put on them to solve the crime problem. In truth, we could have dampened it and mitigated it long ago. We still can. But the question is, who is humble enough to admit that we have not used all of the tools that's in our tool belt? Yes, you can put on your superhero outfit, Brother Gary, but every superhero has a utility belt. And the beautiful thing about Batman Returns, The Dark Knight, all that, he always got some new thing that he pulls out, some new gadget he can pull out. Well, here they are, have us, who've been, again, making brick without straw, and won't even call on us. Or if they do call on us, they call on us to pick our brain and then put together. Now, there's some capable, competent, qualified people now that's in this violence prevention program that's under the Harris County Health Department. These two sisters, one Hispanic and one Black. My intel on them too, they're very capable and competent. But in truth, as a system and an institution, they are clueless. They don't know what to do. And they need our help. Now, again, doing self-examination, self-analysis, and self-correction. What am I going to do after 37 years of ministry in this city? Am I going to just turn my back on them? I can't do that because I have children that go back and forth to work in this city, who have homes in this city. And the duty of a civilized man is to teach the uncivilized. A person who has lost the knowledge of self and is living a beast life. And if an uncivilized man fails to perform his duty, then they will be punished by the very people that he walked by. So I'm always thinking, what could I have done more? Even with no help from them. What could we have done more, Brother Gary? In those times of frustration, what could we have gotten together and at least did something? And it's not that we didn't. Understand, I'm not poo-pooing anything that we've done. We've done a lot with nothing. But we've done it out of love. And we're going to keep on loving this city. We're going to keep on loving this people. And we're not going to be divided by name, shaming, and blaming. So when I talk about conservative cons, liberal lies, and moderate myths, the liberal lies would be, well, you know, it's the system, it's the environment. That's the reason. No, there's some, you know, and I know, Bro Gary, there's some people that would rob their mama. Mm-hmm. They got no conscience. Not that they're irredeemable, because as a teacher of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Honorable Miss Louis Farrakhan, I don't believe nobody's irredeemable, but they need to be locked up so that we can sit down and minister onto them. The conservative con would be lock them up and throw away the key. You know, a personal responsibility. Yeah, but don't think that inadequate education, poor health care, and all the things that you have decided, like for instance, in the 1994 crime bill, right? The GOP stripped out all, if not almost all of the prevention money, like midnight basketball and other stuff like that. That was working, bro. It was working. In Baltimore, New York, other places, it was working. They stripped it out, calling it, this is you know, boondoggle and all this kind of stuff. And they put money into police and prison building. So they wasn't about the prevention. And we see the result of the mass incarceration. So nobody's going to give me no conservative cons on that piece. And the moderate myths, you got to always watch them, because anytime that Black people historically have gotten screwed, it has been the moderates who cut the deal. They cut the deal to make us 3/5 a human being. They cut the deal to extend slavery or importation of slaves for 20 years. They cut the deal of the Compromise of 1850. They cut the deal of the Kansas-Nebraska Act. They cut the deal to create the Mason-Dixon line. They cut the deal for the Fugitive Slave Act. I don't trust moderates, liberals or conservatives. Man, look, we are God's people. And so I got to be pragmatic and stand on truth regardless of who speaks it. There is a problem at the border. But I'm not going to point at all Hispanics and say all of them is the one that's responsible for that. But there's a problem at the border.
Well, I'm gonna say this because I'm politically inclined.
Go ahead.
There is a problem at the border, and I'm not going to point to all Hispanics, just like you. But we have a problem at that border, and we need to fix it. Because when you can kill a cop in Houston and make it all the way back across the border, we got a problem. We have a problem. And the thing is, when we're in politics, and that's where I'm bold at, we don't want to call a spade a spade. You ain't got a problem at the border with white folk. You ain't got a problem at the border with black folk. You got a problem at the border with illegals that are coming in, and not all illegals, but some illegals are coming in and they're committing these crimes. This guy that shot somebody today, to me, no reflection on the Latino community, but what was his race? The one that killed a cop the other day, what was his race? We have a problem at the border, and we got to fix that problem.
I agree, but you've got a century of gunboat diplomacy that has disrupted and destroyed any possibility of prosperity and any kind of civil rule below the border. This country has overthrown anybody that would look out for the little man in those countries, has sided with the big business industries that had interest in there, that if anybody threatened that and wanted to get workers' rights or whatever, and they even leaned like they were any kind of socialists or looking out for the people, our CIA would overthrow them. Let's be clear. So these are chickens coming home to roost also. That's why I say, brother, in our discussions, as you know, because we love one another. So you could say what you said, and I can't deny the truth of what you said. But nobody can deny the historical fact of what I just said.
Even at the border, the root of racism, the root cause of racism is just the things that people do. See, the border was a problem when the Haitians were down there. Oh, you found some planes and maybe got them some Uber boats and got their behinds back over to Haiti. But every day we let millions of illegals into our country, and this is what we're dealing with. And they have buses coming from McAllen, Texas, and all of those buses are routed to Houston. And people think that we don't have a problem. I want your opinion on something. Let me share this screen. And I want to play this video, and I want your opinion on this video. All right? This is another root cause of the problem, but I love it. Let's go.
The Masked Singer continues its wild streak.
The game just changed.
Next up now, you won't believe who will be unmasked next.
The most famous guest ever.
The Masked Singer's all new Wednesdays on Fox to catch them at a time on these platforms.
Well, today some harsh words and heavy pressure aimed at Harris County leaders over the ongoing failure to lower violent crime. This comes less than 48 hours after the murder of the Precinct 5 Deputy Constable, the corporal that we just told you about. Fox 26 political reporter Greg Rugen here to fill us in. Greg.
John, frankly, it's become an excruciatingly sad routine. The families
of murder victims
beseeching Harris County leaders to keep alleged killers locked up until trial, so they won't hurt others. Today, that outcry grew louder.
I think it's just the criminal justice system is a revolving door. They murder, they go in and they come out, and they go in and they come out. I think it's a horrible thing.
My brother Josh should still be alive today.
A heavy dose of heartbreak front and center once again at Harris County Commissioner's Court. The sister and mother of murder victim Josh Sandoval pleading for an immediate end to the release of violent repeat offenders on low-cost bonds.
The criminal justice system in Harris County is broken.
It's Joshua today, but it could very well be your family member tomorrow. And what we have to understand, it's not a race issue, it's a moral issue.
The outcry over the ongoing crime wave and erosion of community safety would continue, and in dramatic fashion.
And let me just express this as sincerely as I can. You're a disgrace.
Speaking publicly and in person, former Commissioner Steve Raddick returned to court and blasted the Democratic majority, blaming the trio for the breakdown of law and order in Harris County and accusing each of having blood on their hands.
I never dreamed that after serving 32 years on this court, that there would be three members of this court, Hidalgo, Garcia, and Ellis, who would kiss the rears of hardened criminals who victimize law-abiding citizens, including law enforcement officers. You spend the money everywhere on the dumbest things, but when it really gets down to protecting the citizens of this county, you're AWOL. I'm calling on you three to resign from office so the healing can begin.
Meantime, a pending proposal to add more than 1,000 county peace officers is drawing mixed reaction from a crime-weary public.
I feel like that's the point. They're supposed to protect the people.
I don't think that's going to help. I think they don't utilize their force.
They need to be in the streets because this is where all the crime is taking place.
Commissioner Adrian Garcia is firing back. He says Raddick shortchanged Harris County law enforcement in the budget process for decades, contributing to the criminal justice crisis our community is dealing with now. In the newsroom, Greg Grugan, Fox 26 News.
Unmute yourself.
I'm going to start it off the white guy that said them employing thousands of more officers, it's not going to fix the problem. He right on the money. You don't need more cops. You need more resources. When a man can't feed his family, he's going to do whatever he has to do to feed him. And I am not a man to tell a man don't sell dope to feed your family. Don't get out and hustle to feed your family. If you can do that without being violent, I can't stop you from doing that. We are reactive. We deal with the problem and the aftermath, but we do nothing to stop it in the beginning. Those two ladies that you talked about earlier, I challenge them. I think they may be of great intelligence, of great resources. Why don't you take that over to South Lawn and Haverstock and go have a conversation with them people over there? Won't you try that? Because ain't nobody trying to heal from no suit and ties in there. They surviving by the skin of their teeth. You see what I'm saying? So you can give all the money you want to Harris Health, $50 million when our plan was only $800,000. You can give them $50 million, but now you got a NASCAR and you don't have a driver. What you just heard from Steve Raddick, former commissioner, what's your opinions on that?
Well, you know, again, there's a little bit of truth in all of what they're saying. There's a truth in the fact that he could have funded other things that would have helped in the long term to solve the crime problem. And then the current group that's there right now really don't seem to understand that you have to balance between nonviolent offenders who are locked up in Harris County Jail that they don't belong there. And then there's violent people that should not be out on the street. And it's not against their constitutional rights for you to hold them, especially when they got multiple offenses they've been charged with. Violent offenses. It's not like petty crimes. He shoplifted a Clark bar. He stole a Tootsie Roll. Some of these aggravated assault, charged with carrying a weapon, attempted murder. Come on. there has to be some cutoff. So there's a little bit of everything going on here. And I know that's based upon the fact, the frustration among law enforcement. They catch these people, and the next thing they know, they're out there on the street. And now it's gotten to the point where they're shooting at them. Look at the man that they caught in Mexico and his rap sheet. It's like he's been on the run for 25 years, they say. And the warrant that's currently barricaded in Fifth Ward, if he's the one that did the shooting in Third Ward today, he got a rap sheet and got more mugshots than the law. I mean, you should see they had a series of mugshots that they lined up one after another.
But you know what frustrates me the most?
What's that?
Is that the people that can make the decisions to actually impact crime in a positive way, to slow it down or possibly all day with security officers. They have their own personal security, the mayor, and I'm not talking bad about them, I'm just quoting facts. The mayor, the county commissioners, the county judges, all of these people have private vehicles that are funded by the county. They ride around with security details, and I'm pretty sure these security details hang around their homes to make sure that they're secure. So they don't deal with what me and you have to deal with, or what the average citizen has to deal with. And I think that's why there's not a sense of urgency to deal with the problems, because they really don't have any problems.
Well, you know, let me take a different tact on that. The bottom line is this: is to whom much is given, much is to be required. I don't regret them having security. I have security around me. They're not armed, but there are brothers and sisters who would give their life for me. Over these 37 years, there's people who would definitely know, leave him alone. And that's why we're able, Brother Gary, to walk in the South Lawns, the Haverstocks, you know, the Royal Palms, the Birdcage over off of Color, you know, the jailhouse. We can go out to those places, and the people know we love them. So we can go in there unarmed. But when you have the resources available to you, and you know that you need help, and people have offered themselves to help you, but you won't reciprocate. And then you wonder why they criticize you or lash out at you. And then when you call on them, you sit down with them, you give them a 5-page questionnaire about their program, Scott Street plan I'm talking about. You send your people over, you interview the whole staff, lay the whole thing out. You endorse the plan. And then you get an outside consultant, pull it together, and you don't even really get an honorable mention in the plan itself. Then, as you said, they funded it. So look, I'm at the point now in 2022, we're going to do the do in 2022. We're going to save the lives of anybody whose life wants to be saved. We're going to intervene. We have to start at the juvenile level. We got to go back into the schools again, Bro Gary, regardless of what they do. I'm not sitting around here waiting on them, because their blood is not only on their hands, the blood will be on our hands if we sit back. So in spite of our pain and disappointment, we still got to do the work, brother. Because you know what? All of them are temporary occupants of the people's offices. Mayors come and mayors go. City council people come, city council people go. County commissioners come, county commissioners go. But the people, they endure forever. And that's what we got to be about, the people. And we may not get our flowers while we live, brother, but we give praise to Allah, because all praise is due to Allah. To God be the glory. Not me. I'm just a torchbearer. You and I are just a baton carrier. There are people who went before us that paid a price. And there'll be people that come after us going to pay a price. What we want to do is pass them the baton. And anytime we go into a situation, we want to find it better. Like when we went into Cullen, when we were doing One Houston, One Hood, we had that whole gymnasium full of them children that were put together from the South Lawn area. And because they closed Ryan, bringing in the Third Ward area, you know there was nothing but conflict going on there. We stepped into that place, and it wasn't that we just bring about a cessation of the conflict. We went in the library and found out there wasn't a book in the damn library. So what did we do? Did we just complain? No, we put a light on it, and they got books put up in the library. So everywhere we go, brother, whatever we can do to improve the situation, we're just going to work on improving the situation. That has to be our new outlook in 2022. And if they want to call me, they know my number. If they want to call you, they know my number. But I'm not going to let nobody cut no deal. Say, well, minister, we're going to give you a little something, but you're going to give Gary nothing. I'm, you know how I am, brother. I'm not like that. You know, I'm not like that. With Gary Monroe, he talk crazy about us, and I don't like him. He makes it. I don't care what nothing I got to say. Everybody has a role to play. Some people don't like Reginald Gordon. Some people don't like the rappers.
Well, that's something I was finna ask you.
Go ahead.
You know, I when you sit in the seat you in, some days I ask tough questions. And I give the people the option to answer the question or they don't have to. Do you think that the lack of support that the lack of support that you've not gotten is due to the fact that you are the Nation of Islam?
Absolutely. Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Oh, brother, please. You'd be surprised the rooms I be in. But it's almost like Nicodemus. Some of these people like Nicodemus, they come and visit me at night or in the quiet. You'd be surprised, brother. And it's not just limited to black politicians, white, Republican, conservative. I've been in rooms, brother, that would blow your mind. And I've been in serious dialogues with heavyweight Jewish leaders in this city. They know I'm not an anti-Semite. They know the minister's not an anti-Semite. But they got to carry that line. Because the truth of the matter is, brother, is that you got some people who are not beholden to nobody but God and the people. And when you got people like that who continue to survive and thrive no matter what you do or don't give to them, then you know that there's a greater power behind them than you. And if you give them, you think you're giving me legitimacy. You can't make me legitimate. You can't make me illegitimate. God is the only one that makes you legitimate or illegitimate, and the people. I'd rather be loved by the little man. The minister taught me from the beginning, Burger, when I first became the minister in Sunnyside on Brandon Street, 1987. He said, brother, don't go after the big shots. He said, go after the little man in the street, and the big shots will come looking for you. And in a brief minute, I'll tell you how that worked. In truth, brother, from 87 to 1990, brother, we worked this city quietly, underground. And then one day they looked up at the old Sam Houston Coliseum where they used to do wrestling. 1990, we packed 12,000 people in the Sam Houston Coliseum. The city was so dirty at that time. We searched all the people, brought them and had them seated. They made us make all the people leave again. You know, that's what they did to Dr. King. They put a smoke bomb. When Dr. King came to speak there, they had Joan Baez, they had Aretha Franklin, they had Harry Belafonte. They put a smoke bomb in the air conditioning system so that they could disrupt that. Dr. King never came back. He was assassinated before he could ever come back to Houston. They made all them people leave. We had to search them again, come back in. The people came back in and repacked the Sam Houston Coliseum. It was at that point, Brother, I could look in my closet and all kinds of stuff. I never had any kind of a certificate of appreciation, an award, or recognition from anybody from 1987 to September of 1990 until that event took place. So it's not like that everybody, every mover and shaker in this city, that I can get a return phone call if I want from them. But the question is now, do they really want to solve the problem, or they're going to continue to play these games with the people's fears and the hopelessness? Violence is rooted in hopelessness, brother. When you don't give a damn, like you said, a man got to eat, got to feed his family, and he don't see no other way, and then you going to tell him, oh yeah, see, go to school, get a good job, and you too could be a soul trained dancer. And you sitting there, he looking at you, she is looking at you, and they say that you hate going to your job. Every Sunday evening after the last football game, you getting depressed because you know you got to go to work on Monday. On Friday, you as happy as can be because it's Friday and I ain't got to go to work, man. And I'm going to the club. I can relax, man. I'm gonna chill over the weekend. And they say you go through this routine, and then your children sitting there watching you say, why the hell I want to do that for? So we're giving birth to a generation of entrepreneurs. They don't want to punch no clocks, but you got to give them the right product to put into their distribution system so that they don't have to look over their shoulder. They don't have IRS problems. They don't have law enforcement problems. But will we do that? No. So we're having a problem now. We have seeded our manufacturing overseas and turned this economy into a service industry economy. And when COVID hit, people said, man, I'm not serving no tables, man. And these people don't pay me no money, or I'm not respected, or my health is not respected. I'm not going in the office and do what? What? Man, I could be here. I can design me some t-shirts. I could put it up on somebody that will print them, ship them, and send me a check, and I could do that from my home. What the hell am I going to go in the office for? So there's a whole nother paradigm shift that is taking place where people are establishing digital real estate and then going out and buying actual physical real estate. And look at what you have done with the 5-Star Show or with the WarZone. You're able to talk to the whole country. There's people watching you from across the country, from right here in Houston, Texas, or the hotel room or wherever else you broadcast. So technology has collapsed time and space. And lastly, I'm the type of person sometimes I can't let a thing go. Like I can't let Dr. King go right now. You know, his celebration of his life and his legacy comes and goes for some people with MLK Day. That's it. We have a parade. Happy, happy, joy, joy. Get out of here. What that man was talking about in the last 2-3 years of his life is not no dream. That man attacked the 3 evils of society: militarism, poverty, and race. Tell me that we don't have a bloated military budget. Tell me that we don't still have poverty in this country. Tell me that we still don't have racism in this country. And that man's been dead now since 1968. We're fighting for Voters' Rights Act. On one end, the conservative con is there's voter fraud. Can't deny there's some funny business going on. The liberal lie is it's voter suppression. I don't know. I really do wish that the person that's getting ready to vote is the person that's getting ready to vote. The moderate myth is, both of them are pox on both their houses. They just waiting to see which one has the ascendant position, and then they'll side with that side. Look, if we were real citizens, we wouldn't need a Voters' Rights Act. If we were real citizens. If we were real citizens, we wouldn't need a Civil Rights Act. If we were real citizens in the mind of those who really consider themselves a citizen. Y'all look in the mirror out there. E pluribus unum. Out of the many one. The vision of the founding fathers of this country was Holland, France, Germany, Scotland, Ireland, England. Those six countries were who they saw as out of the many being one. They didn't see the Indian. They didn't see Africa. They didn't see Asia. They didn't see the Hispanics. They didn't see none of them as being part of this country. So deal with that. This critical race theory is BS. They don't even teach that in school. That's madness. What they're getting ready to do is listen to this one, bro, and then go on. The outrages in Tennessee, they banned a book on the Holocaust right here on the eve of the International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Now, see, y'all remain silent when we was talking about slavery and racism and all that stuff, but all that is high level law school, Harvard Law School, Yale, Columbia kind of talk. And it had nothing to do with this culture war. This is, see, that's the crap they be playing with people's minds, brother. And now, to the Jewish community, now they banned a book on the Holocaust on the eve of International Holocaust. And that's because you were silent when they were banning stuff about what happened, the atrocities that happened to Black people in America. Now you know how far this thing is getting ready to go. Go, Gary. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you brought it home. And the thing is, you know, I'm majoring in criminal justice. So as I'm slowly going up, I'm in my senior year, we're starting to see critical race theory as we get, you know, deeper and deeper into this law thing. And I think by the time I get to law school, that's when I'm gonna really get it all, you know. But right now, to use this for what we're using it for is really a waste of time, is dividing the country, is doing too much. You know, they ain't teaching this foolishness in those schools. And if they are teaching it, they don't need to be teaching it. That's just my opinion. That's not your opinion. So, but I think that we have a lot of good people making some great comments, especially got to send a shout out to the team, you know, United in Peace. I see Sister Erica Albert on there. Hey, Erica, Cash and Tamika Motley. These are people that we work with on a daily basis. You know, I love Cash for a lot of reasons. Say, man, y'all around here playing, but Cash is as gangster as they come. And that ain't no dude. That's a girl. That's a girl that can run her whole neighborhood. You feel what I'm saying? And when she steps off in her neighborhood and she tell them youngsters, put them guns down, they put them guns down. See, that's the element we bring to the game. But you can't get these people who read books, they study data, to understand this. And you think you're hurting us by not working with us, you're hurting everybody else in the city. You see what I'm saying? Because now we live this thing. I wonder what, I think the only thing we're missing in Harris County is Marsha Dillon. Because this is like Dodge City, Kansas right now. You see what I'm saying? It's survival of the fittest right now. You know, I know you have a wife, you may be concerned when your wife leaves to go to the grocery store. It wasn't like that years ago. And now where we are, and that's why Radek's comment hits so home with me, is when he spoke to Garcia directly. And he told him, you've changed. You used to care. And it's like, now you don't. And that right there tells me a lot about our elected leadership at this moment. But I think at the ballot box is when it's going to affect them the most, because the people that are running against the incumbents are going to use crime as the measuring stick. If you've been in office for 4 years and you've done nothing to deal with this, then from my perspective, you shouldn't sit in the seat. And I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, if you have that seat and you've done nothing, the blood is on your hands now. So now we got to deal with you at the ballot box. And we cannot continue to use symbolism as a means of putting people in office. Oh, he's the first black. He's the first Latin. No, I don't care if you're the first black little rascal and you took Steinman's place. If you ain't doing what you're supposed to do, then you shouldn't be in office. And that's all it boils down to.
Well, it does boil down to us having an unapologetically black agenda or community-based agenda. We're not going to make no apologies for the things that are those lines in the sand that if you cross them, we can't go with you. We don't care what your color is. See, what we need is a justice party, brother. What we got to do again, but Gary, be honest with you, man, is that, they try to put me in a box. I like going to Isaiah Carey's show, but he always got me into kind of this race box. And I tell him, I said, Isaiah, you call me all the time. I said, but sometimes I don't want to come on your show because you got me in this race box. I said, I care about veterans. My father was a World War II veteran, man, that did not get all that he deserved. I would be in a different position. My children would be in a different position right now had my father gotten after World War II what the other white GIs had gotten. So I care about the veterans, man. I care about what's happening to women, brother. This domestic violence thing is a part of this homicide and this aggravated assault piece. We got to have a new relationship between male and females in our relationships. This domestic violence is out of control, rape, all that. And then we got to have a new morality about us, man. I don't get into LGBTQ and homosexual. Look, promiscuity, fornication, and all of that should be out. We're spreading diseases among ourselves, and we're having children out of wedlock, man. And like we don't even, it's a breakdown of our family and our community life. You know, what about Muslims? Muslims are getting ready to get, we fell off the radar for a minute. Now that they're worried about the Russians over there in Ukraine and the Chinese over there in the Straits of Taiwan. But this thing get ready to kick off, man. So now Muslims somehow is going to pop up back in that thing again. Then black youth. Trust me, brother. This focus on crime is going to be the target on the back of our young brothers. And we're already endangered species. So we got to do our part to intervene on the juvenile level, intervene in the jails, intervene in the state jail, intervene in the federal prisons, intervene with the OGs coming out. Man, we got to still do our part. And so when you look at all of that, and even the Native Americans and them Latinos, man, that need somebody to watch their back, that's doing right, because the truth of the matter is they wouldn't be coming across the border if the corporatocracy didn't want them to come across the border. Let's go to the Greater Houston Partnership. Let's knock on Bob Harvey's door and say, Bob, come on now. Talk to your partners. Why are they here? You need cheap labor? Come on, dude. We seeded all that overseas and we created an economy that is not sustainable. And
but
so
cheap labor in Harris County equates some days to black brothers, white brothers, whoever getting out of the prison system that you could have gave those jobs to. And they wouldn't have had to go back to a life of crime or go back to the block if they could get out of jail and get those jobs. But they'll give them to an illegal. And, a lot of illegal people come in, they're peaceful people. But at the same time, we live in the United States of America. Regardless if they got out of jail or not, they're American citizens first. So the recidivism rate is one of the biggest reasons that crime continues to, be at a certain level or it goes up. It's the recidivism rate, because a man that gets out of jail feels like he's now again less of a man because he can't get a job and he can't find a place to stay.
Man, all you got to do is go down there to that Greyhound station, brother, when they're dropped off, and see your potential problem is right there. What a man going to do? You give him a couple dollars and a bus ticket, and you drop him off in the city. And a lot of these people are pardoned and paroled. You look at the zip code. They're not pardoned and paroled to Memorial and River Oaks and Tanglewild. Come on. We know where they are. So, so sometimes we have to have a balance, man. We got to have a balance. There's some things got to be sacrificed for a greater good. So I have to wrestle with, for instance, an idea of the expansion of I-45. There's a lot of people, they're going to take our property. They're doing what they did before and all that. But if you're talking about 91,000 jobs, 180,000 jobs over 10 years, you have to make choices. And there's something, and whoever takes a haircut should be compensated. I've always said, brother, in the pension deal, that the firefighters took a haircut and they deserve to be compensated. They ain't to put the cops off, cops against firefighters. No, the firefighters took a haircut and they deserve better. Brother, again, I sat in the firehouse with these firefighters, and Sylvester Turner was open to talking with them, but they blinked and they made it personal. Start calling him all kind of less than, calling me feminine and all that kind of stuff, man. I said, man, why would you even go there? And look at where they are. They're suing. He told them in the office. One brother that's on my security detail is a firefighter. And he said, brother, I'm not your enemy. He said, but this is how it's going to go down. And everything that you see has rolled out, the lawsuits, who won, who didn't, how I get appealed, all that. Sylvester Turner told him to his face how it was going to all go down. And I sat and I watched it. I sat with those firefighters at a fire station very close to the mosque, a whole group of them, and sat down with them and said, this is how we can resolve this thing. Are you ready? But it was so bitter between them. They wouldn't listen. If we're going to beat him, I said, you're not going to beat Sylvester Turner in this second term. He's going to win. And now they still haven't got the deal that they deserve. I say it again. The firefighters deserve their pay. But you wouldn't listen to good counsel. Kind of reminds me of what's happening with the crime, Brother Gary. You tell people these things, here's how you fix it. And they get stuck in their particular thing. And now because I've done this broadcast, brother, they're not going to invite me to the party next week. But I may crash it because there's too much blood on the streets.
Well, guess what? If they don't invite you to that party, I'm having my campaign kickoff birthday party in February. You know you're always invited to come hang out with me. And we might as well hang out together because they don't fool with either one of us. But I tell you this here. Sometimes when it's about to flood, the high power sends you some boats. And I think he sent 3, according to the scripture. 5 Star is a boat. Dr. Muhammad is a boat. Reginald Gordon is a boat. You chose not to get on them boats. And now you're suffering. And if you think it's going to get better, because you will go and I'm going to say this, I want everybody to hear me because I know they watching. You can go get 10,000 more police officers until you repair community and family. It ain't going to matter because you're not being proactive. Your police will show up after the crime is committed. But until you repair the community and the family, it doesn't matter how many cops you hire. That's not the solution. So and this is how I feel, Doc. Them hiring all these cops is like back in the day when they said we need to build more prisons. You didn't fix community and family back then. It kept happening. So you can hire 5,000, 10,000 more cops. But if a man can't feed his family, he's going to feed that family by any means necessary.
Once again, brother, we send our condolence out to those families of law enforcement that have lost loved ones in the line of duty. We send our condolences out to those policemen who were wounded today, and to all of you all who put on that badge and that uniform. But we say to you, stop allowing these people to use you as props, to trot you out when it's politically necessary, but won't give you the support that you need in the community so that you could do your job and go home to your wife or your husband and your children like everybody else wants to go home to theirs. There's a lot of blame to go around, but there's also a lot of help that's available to you. And then it can't be, as Brother Gary points out, reactionary. Crime Stoppers is reactionary. Prevention before detention is necessary. I close with this metaphor for you. You left the house. You come home to the house, you put the key in the door, you open up the door, there's water on the floor. What's the first thing you do? Do you get a mop and bucket? Or do you go find out where that water's coming from? You found out, you left the sink running. and the dish rag in the sink. So what do? Do you start mopping the floor? Or do you turn off the water, unstop the sink, and then pull out the mop and bucket? Beloved, it's as simple as that. We can prevent the crime, we can intervene with the crime, and we can clean up the crime. But we got to work together. I'm on this show with 5-Star, and he's a general, but a general needs an army. An army is made up of 100,000 to 300,000 persons and has all kinds of divisions. It has an intelligence division called G2. It has a personnel division, G1. It has artillery. It has air support. It has a chemical warfare section. It has a finance section. It has a logistical section. It has a transportation section. It has all of these sections that make up this army. And armies are made up of corps. Corps are made up of divisions. Divisions are made up of brigades. Brigades are made up of battalions. Battalions are companies. Companies of platoons. Platoons are squads, and squads are firing teams. We got everything we need. The question is, who will help the generals to put the army on the field so we can win this war? Hope. As leaders, we give you hope. There is hope. And we will not take counsel to our fears. We fear none but God, and to God be the glory. And we're not worried about our legacy. History will absolve us when it's all said and done. I thank you, brother, for having me on the program today. And I pray Allah that will bless this city and each and every public servant that's out there serving it, and the city, the citizens of the city. Let's get together and make our own neighborhoods safe and decent places to live.
I tell y'all, thank you so much for taking the time out. I know you hadn't been feeling well, but every time I call, you always come through in the clutch. So the only thing I can tell the powers that be, because I got some calls today when the officers got shot. You can't call me unless you're ready to put me to work. I'm ready to go to work. Let's go. Let's stop playing with it. But I can tell you this, I'm not sitting at your table and giving you any more ideas, because every time I do that, you tend to steal them. Say, man, it's a reason I'm the best in the business. Every night, 7 o'clock, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. It's the WarZone. I want to thank my guest tonight, Dr. Abdul Haleem Muhammad, from the great nation of Islam, under the direction of the great one, Minister Louis Farrakhan. You know what it is with me. You know what it is with the good doctor. When the war starts, they send the Marines in first. We locked and loaded and ready to go. Pick up the phone. And like Jerome would say, you can't call nobody until tomorrow night. I'll holler at you.